Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now I am going to present our work on deriving domain-specific requirement pattern for collaborative meeting and appointment scheduler domain. So this research work has been done by Farah Nur Atika Suhaizat, Raida Rashika Burhanuddin, and me myself Azlin Nordin. So as an introduction, the central aims for achieving software reuse are to improve software quality and to reduce the software development cost. And reusing artifacts at early stage of software development could offer greater benefits as it can reduce effort, cost and time, which will be significant in the later stages. So we believe that one of the promising means to reduce the risks of project completion on time and within cost is to adopt requirement reuse, which uses requirements from previous projects and then applying them in new projects. In requirements reuse approaches, the work products are utilized numerous times, hence the defect fixes from each reuse accumulate, resulting in higher quality. What we are trying to address is on the research problem that software reuse is not adequately optimized to achieve all the benefits offered by the reusability feature. In this work, we organize the information based on two main phases of requirements reuse, which are design for reuse, where the requirements reuse work products are created with the aim to maximize reuse. And the second one is design with reuse, where the requirements reuse work products are reused to develop specific systems. So now we're gonna start with the introduction on requirements pattern. So what is a requirement pattern? A requirement pattern contains problem solution to similar recurring problems. So it provides a common structure and relevant information to achieve requirements reuse. According to the literature, there is a growth trend for patterns in problem space rather than solution space. In the history, software engineering community has been using design patterns that is in solution space to achieve reusability. But now there is a trend that we can also use patterns in problem space rather than only focusing on solution space. So among all of the requirements reuse methods, requirements pattern has been viewed as the most prominent because the best practices, the solution of the best practices has been documented and reused. Thus, it can be useful for requirements engineering process. So these are amongst the reasons why we consider that requirements pattern is a suitable technique to be implemented in order to achieve the requirements reuse aims. So the objectives of our research are, the first one is to explore and experience how we can apply requirements pattern into a domain-specific application system that is designed with reuse. The second one is to investigate how to derive requirements reuse for a specific domain. And the third one is to evaluate the quality of the produced requirements. So in order to achieve these purposes, we chose collaborative meeting and appointment scheduler system. The justification of this selection is that we have done the domain analysis for this domain prior to this work. So for the research methodology, we adapted the generic methodology from Whittle. Okay, based on this methodology, we first perform the domain analysis, which we have done in the previous work. Then we determine any relevant existing requirements pattern that we can apply, which means that we can with reuse. That means we are in the design with reuse. We apply the existing requirements pattern. If not, we need to create new requirements pattern. So after that, we're going to review all the requirements pattern that we have created and applied. And if there is any problem with it, we need to resolve it. If not, then we complete with the mission. Experimenting requirements pattern in terms of design with reuse. What we did was that we analyzed all the domain requirements and tried to map with the existing WTLS 37 requirements pattern. So these WTLS requirements pattern, they are grouped into 8 domains, which are fundamental, information, data entity, performance, flexibility, commercial, user function, and access control. So we studied which requirements pattern that are relevant to our domain requirements and apply those requirements pattern. So the next one is to view the requirements pattern in terms of design for reuse. So WTL suggested few steps and we followed and adapted the steps based on creating a skeleton pattern, gather all the requirements which based on the domain analysis, and then document the requirements pattern in terms of applicability, discussion, content, extra requirements like non-functional requirements that are relevant to that particular requirements, consideration for development, and consideration for testing. After that, we review the pattern. So based on our domain, apart from reusing the existing patterns, some of the domain requirements have potentials to be reused in the future or in another system. So the main aims for this task, okay, that means design for reuse, is to achieve and maximize reuse for future purposes. So we identified 3 new requirements pattern, which are meeting initiation requirement pattern, meeting modification requirement pattern, and meeting confirmation requirement pattern. So based on this requirements pattern, we further derive the domain specific requirements pattern catalog. So in here, we put all the requirements pattern that we have mapped from WTL's requirements pattern catalog and add our new requirement pattern, which are these 3 new requirements pattern. So as an evaluation for this work, we, based on the domain requirements and the patterns that we have derived, we develop prototype to try to apply and reuse the requirements pattern that we have derived or generated. So in here, this is only part of the prototype. Yeah, we only captured few screenshots. So this is for the meeting initiation requirements pattern. So based on that pattern, we apply and adopt all the information and details as suggested by the pattern and use it for the development of the prototype. The second one is for meeting confirmation requirement pattern. So we put on all the details that we have included in the requirements pattern and try to derive a system based on the information. So some discussion points and summary. Okay, first one is in terms of challenges. So we found out that there are limited literature that experimentally address the benefits of requirements reuse using pattern, and it's difficult to find case studies that apply or adapt patterns that fit into the desired context. And we also found that based on our experience of implementing the requirements pattern in design with reuse, is that requirements pattern could assist in finding missing requirements and can also improve the requirements quality. So by applying requirements reuse using pattern, it helps to boost analyst productivity by providing a great place to start instead of having to start from scratch. Here are the references that we cited in this presentation, and the complete list will be in our paper. If you have any inquiries, suggestion, or feedback, please send an email to me at this email address. Okay, thank you for your time and thank you for listening to my presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.